2 weeks before the wedding, she said, I'll only say I do if the venue has marble floors. I said, of course. Then held the ceremony. At the courthouse. With her parents watching from the curb. That was the sentence that changed everything for me. Not the first fight. Not the first lie. But it was the first time I heard the threat in her voice loud and clear. And I smiled. I nodded. I said, of course. But in that moment, deep down, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Let me back up. My name's Jordan. I'm 31. I've always been the steady guy. The planner. The one who does things the right way. Stable job in finance. No wild history. No games. I thought I wanted the same in a partner. Someone calm. Classy. Elegant. And that's how I got sucked into my engagement with Vanessa. Vanessa was impressive. That's the best word I can use. Tall. Beautiful. Always put together. The kind of woman who walked into a room and made people lower their voices. Everything from her clothes to her Instagram was curated like a fashion spread. She didn't just take selfies, she scheduled photo shoots. When we first met, I thought, this is the kind of woman you build a life with. We were both in our late 20s. She worked in PR, had a clean apartment, talked about wanting substance over sparkle. It all seemed perfect. But the deeper we got into the relationship, the more I realized it was all sparkle and no core. At first it was small things. She hated my couch. Said it looked tired. Then it was my car. She didn't like that it wasn't a luxury brand. Then she stopped coming over to my place at all and insisted we always stay at hers. I should have noticed then how everything in her life had to fit a certain image. Even me. But I didn't. I thought that was just her being particular. Tasteful. Raised differently. Whatever. When I proposed, she said yes with tears in her eyes. I thought they were tears of happiness. Looking back now, they were probably tears of relief. She'd secured her image. The successful man. The big ring. The glamorous wedding. And that's when the real version of her started to come out. Suddenly I wasn't just a partner. I was a prop. The wedding planning became a full-time job. I'm not kidding. She actually quit her PR gig and told everyone she was going to build her brand as a bride. Every day was about swatches, vendors, calligraphy, lighting aesthetics. She started sending me Pinterest boards at 3 a.m. And if I didn't answer right away, I'd get a passive-aggressive voice note. Do you even care about this wedding, or are you just showing up? It was exhausting, but I tried. I wanted to be a good fiancé. I paid for the planner, the venue deposit, the floral designer she just had to have. I even bit my tongue when she told my sister not to wear glasses at the ceremony because they'd reflect poorly in the photos. But then, 2 weeks before the wedding, we were at the venue doing a walkthrough. It was a gorgeous estate with hardwood floors, vaulted ceilings, and big French windows. I was already down tens of thousands of dollars. We were sipping champagne as the planner discussed the final details. Everything was perfect. And then she said it, just casually, like she was ordering coffee. Actually, I've been thinking. I'll only say I do if the venue has marble floors. I laughed, thinking she was joking. But her face didn't move. She was dead serious. It's just, I always pictured marble in the photos. It's elegant. It's timeless. Hardwood is just dated. I looked at her. Really looked. This woman, who just made me pay $6,500 for linen napkins that matched the theme, was now drawing a line in the sand over flooring. As if the marriage itself depended on it. I said, of course. Calmly. Softly. And she smiled, smug and satisfied, like she'd won something. That's when the plan started forming in my head. A new venue. A different one. No marble. No chandeliers. No $14,000 cake. Just something simple. Something real. Because if she was marrying me for marble, then I was done playing along. After that venue visit, something in me just shut off. We got back in the car and she was giddy, talking about color palettes and petal tosses like nothing had happened. Meanwhile, I sat in the driver's seat realizing I had no clue who this woman beside me really was. Vanessa wasn't marrying me. She was marrying the wedding. And not just any wedding. The one she'd been crafting in her head since high school. I was just the final accessory. Her beige Ken doll. But the craziest part? I still didn't pull the plug. Not yet. Because I wanted to be sure. So I started paying attention. Really paying attention. First red flag? She wasn't working anymore. Officially, she said she was on a premarital sabbatical to align her energy. Translation, sleeping in, taking yoga selfies, and scheduling fake Zoom calls to seem booked. Her days were filled with salon visits, dress fittings, and brunches with her bridesmaids, most of whom she treated like interns. I overheard her tell one of them on speaker, God, if he ever loses his job, I swear I'll suffocate from boredom. Like, love is cute and all, but I didn't sign up for struggle. I remember just sitting there, frozen. Like, you're talking about me right now. I'm in the other room. I pay the rent. I pay the bills. I pay for your dream wedding. And you'd leave if I lost my job? Still, I didn't confront her. I needed more. So I did what any halfway broken, halfway angry man does. I checked her phone. I wasn't even looking for cheating. Just something. Some proof that this feeling in my gut wasn't just cold feet. And I found it. There was a group chat with her bridesmaids called the Marble Queens. Every message felt like a slap. Photos of my proposal with captions like, "He really proposed with that ring skull ring, but I guess it'll do for now." And my personal favorite, "He's not the dream, but he'll fund it. Just gotta smile until the house is mine." I read that one about 10 times. The house. We had been talking about buying one after the wedding. She kept pushing for a big mortgage in her dream neighborhood. And I realized she never saw it as our house. Just like she never saw me as her partner. Just her stepping stone. That's when the courthouse plan solidified in my mind. Not just to cancel the wedding, but to hold up a mirror to her. Let her see herself exactly how the world would see her, without filters or florals. I kept playing along after that. I smiled. I kissed her on the cheek. I helped finalize RSVPs. But every moment, I was laying bricks in my own silent escape route. And the best part? She didn't suspect a thing. She thought she'd won. We had our final wedding tasting the next week. She rejected the steak tartare and demanded they replate everything with more verticality. Whatever that means. And as we walked out of the venue that day, this overpriced, echoey mansion filled with chandeliers, I looked down at those floors. Hardwood. Golden. Clean. And all I could think about was how much I used to love the idea of walking into a home with her. Now, all I wanted was a door I could close behind me and never open again. The week before the wedding, everything was locked in. Vanessa was glowing. Literally, she was doing LED facials and steam baths every morning. Her parents had flown in early. Her bridesmaids were staying at a nearby resort. I was still sleeping in our apartment, staring at the ceiling every night and wondering how the hell I got there. And yet, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't sad. I felt calm, focused, like I was executing a business strategy. I called my friend Nate. He's a videographer who works weddings and short films. I said, "I need you to film something. Clean audio. One take. No questions." He just said, "Courthouse." I replied, "Yeah, but bring a tripod. This one's for her." I changed the location on the private wedding site, deleted the fancy venue address, replaced it with the address for the downtown civil courthouse. I restricted her access to the site, told her the planner needed exclusive control to prevent surprises. Then I texted her a decoy address for the pre-wedding photo shoot. Same time as the ceremony. I even told her, "Wear your dress. Photographer wants to capture your first entrance solo." She replied with a heart emoji. That was the last time she messaged me without panic. The morning of, I put on my suit, no tux, no boutonniere, and walked to the courthouse with Nate and my older brother. 2 witnesses, 2 signatures. We waited outside under the gray stone columns. The city was loud. Traffic everywhere. Just a regular Tuesday. The opposite of a fairy tale. At 10:41 a.m., a white Mercedes pulled up. Vanessa stepped out. And the look on her face when she saw me standing there, not in the mansion, not in the floral archway, but in front of a public courthouse with her parents standing awkwardly by the curb, was something I'll never forget. Not rage. Not sadness. Confusion. Pure, stuttering confusion. She looked at the building. Looked at me. Then at her parents. Her mom tried to say something, but Vanessa just held up her hand like she was swatting away noise. What is this?" I walked over slowly. Calm. Controlled. "It's your wedding, remember? You said you'd only say I do if the floor was marble. So I thought, better skip the house and go straight to court." She blinked like her brain couldn't keep up. "Is this a joke?" "Nope," I said. "This is where things become legally binding. That's what you wanted, right?" She didn't speak. Just stood there, veil blowing in the wind, makeup flawless, but hands shaking. Her dad cleared his throat. "Jordan, what the hell is this? You moved the ceremony without telling her." I smiled politely. "I sent everyone the update last night. Didn't want to waste money on hardwood, remember?" That's when Nate lifted the camera. I gave a small nod. He hit record. Vanessa stepped back. "Turn that OFF. Are you recording this?" "Oh yeah," Nate said. "You'll want to remember this part." She started pacing, pulling at her veil, muttering. Her mom whispered something about calling the planner. Vanessa pulled out her phone, then froze. Because the wedding website? Gone. The vendor payments? Canceled. And the only message in her inbox? "Marble isn't marriage. And I'm not your foundation." She turned back to me with her mouth open like she was about to scream. But I was already walking into the courthouse. The clerk was waiting. 2 witnesses followed. And Vanessa? She stood there in a $9,000 dress, on the wrong sidewalk, in the wrong life. She didn't follow me inside right away. When the courthouse doors closed behind me, I left her out there, standing between the curb and a reality she never saw coming. I could feel her eyes burning into my back. But I didn't turn around. The clerk walked me through the cancellation paperwork. Simple process. Faster than a coffee order. My brother signed as a witness. Nate filmed the last part for documentation, just in case anyone wanted to claim this was some dramatic prank. Outside, the noise had shifted. I could hear her voice through the glass. Sharp. Panicked. She was pacing, gesturing wildly at her parents, trying to salvage the illusion. By the time I stepped out, her veil was off, makeup smudged, and both parents stood awkwardly beside her like strangers waiting for a bus. The energy had shifted completely. She wasn't the bride anymore, just a girl in a white dress unraveling in public. She demanded answers, asked if I was trying to embarrass her, but her voice cracked halfway through the sentence. The crowd on the sidewalk had grown. Not huge, but just enough people to make the moment sting. Phones were out. Someone whispered her name, trying to confirm if she was the influencer they'd seen online. It hit her then, the optics, that this would be the first wedding in her circle where the bride didn't walk down the aisle, but stood frozen outside of a municipal building in heels too expensive for the sidewalk. Her mother tried to smooth things over. She suggested rescheduling or even finding a last-minute venue. But Vanessa wasn't listening. She was staring at me like she didn't recognize the man standing there. And honestly, she didn't. Because the man she'd been banking on was passive, malleable, predictable. But I had quietly reached my breaking point weeks ago, and she never saw it. Because she never looked past herself. She tried to spin it one last time. Claimed it was a miscommunication. Blamed the planner. Blamed me. Said this wasn't how things were supposed to go. But the desperation in her voice didn't match the elegance she always tried to project. This wasn't how she pictured her wedding day. No marble floor. No aisle. No applause. Just concrete, confusion, and a man who refused to play the part. She kept asking what was wrong with me. Why I didn't just talk to her. Why I had to ruin everything. But by then, she already knew. She knew she'd pushed too far. She knew she'd turned the relationship into a transaction. And deep down, she knew that the moment she made that marble comment, something inside me shifted and never came back. Her father eventually stepped forward and asked me if this could be fixed. I told him gently, but firmly, that it wasn't broken. It had never been whole to begin with. And I wouldn't build a life on cracks I was forced to ignore. No shouting. No accusations. Just a quiet refusal. That's what broke her. Not the venue swap. Not the canceled contracts. But the fact that I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't even look angry. I just walked away. She followed me down the courthouse steps for a few feet, then stopped. She must have realized there was nothing left to say that wouldn't make it worse. I got into my car. Nate and my brother followed in theirs. We didn't celebrate. Didn't go out for drinks. We just went home. And she was still standing on the curb when I pulled away. I thought she might go silent. Hide. Vanish from the internet for a while. But Vanessa wasn't wired that way. Less than 24 hours after the courthouse scene, her Instagram was updated. Black and white photo of her bouquet lying on the pavement. Caption filled with vague heartbreak and spiritual jargon. Something about trusting the timing of the universe and healing through disappointment. The comments rolled in. Hundreds. Her followers flooded the post with sympathy. Some even started spinning theories. Cold feet, sudden death in the family, a freak wedding cancellation beyond her control. She responded to a few, thanking them for their love and space to grieve. No mention of the marble. No mention of the courthouse. Just a carefully curated image of a wronged woman trying to stay strong. For about 3 days, people believed her. But then the footage dropped. Nate had sent the raw video to me, but someone else leaked a clip, one of her screaming at her parents outside the courthouse, tearing off her veil and throwing it in the street. And once people knew where to look, everything unraveled fast. Vendors started speaking up anonymously in wedding forums. One of the florists mentioned she'd refused to pay a balance unless the arrangement photographed like Versailles. A makeup artist said she made a bridesmaid cry during the trial session because her cheekbones weren't symmetrical enough. Even worse, one of her own bridesmaids turned on her. It started with a DM, a short message from her maid of honor. You were lucky to walk away. She was going to cheat. At first, I stared at the screen in disbelief. Was this some kind of revenge? Exaggeration? But then she sent screenshots. Long text threads between her and Vanessa. Voice notes, too. In one message, Vanessa joked about testing the waters with an ex she'd reconnected with at her bachelorette party. She described him as fun and dangerous, the kind of guy who made her feel alive again. She said, and I quote the maid of honor's summary, not Vanessa directly, she was only going to wait until the wedding passed. Said if married life got too boring, she'd just need one weekend away to recalibrate. She had a backup plan for our future. A contingency affair. I sat with that for a while. Not angry. Not even surprised. Because deep down, I think I knew. I remembered all the nights she went out with the girls and came home smelling like cologne I didn't wear. The way she flinched when I asked about her phone. The months of subtle emotional distance that I chalked up to wedding stress. It wasn't just about marble floors. It never was. The girl I thought I was marrying was a projection, a carefully crafted persona. And the real version? That one didn't know how to love anything she couldn't control. In the days that followed, her public image took a serious hit. Brands she worked with pulled out of upcoming campaigns. Mutual friends stopped returning her calls. Her parents, I later heard, flew back home early, ashamed and confused. She posted a video a week later, crying into the camera, blaming online bullying and jealous haters. The comments were brutal, but I didn't comment. Didn't like, didn't share, didn't speak. I stayed quiet. Because some exits don't need applause. They just need to be final. It took me about a month to unpack everything. Mentally, emotionally, even literally. I donated the suit. Canceled the photographer. Got partial refunds on some of the vendors. Lost a chunk of money overall, but I never felt lighter. No texts from her. No calls. Just radio silence. Vanessa stayed busy online, trying to steer the narrative. She posted reels of herself hiking alone, eating brunch in wide-brimmed hats, typing vague captions about learning from pain and growing through uncertainty. Her followers dropped by the thousands. Meanwhile, I got back to work. Saw my friends again. Took a weekend trip out of town with my brother. Nothing fancy. Just real conversations, real air, and no performance. And then, one Saturday, something happened that sealed everything for me. A friend of mine was getting married. Small wedding. Backyard setup. His bride wore a simple cotton dress. No designer tag. No filters. Just joy. There were mismatched chairs, twinkly lights from Amazon, and a Bluetooth speaker playing someone's playlist. But the couple? They laughed the entire time. Stumbled over their vows. Cried when they kissed. It was messy and genuine. A little chaotic, but warm. Alive. I sat near the back with a drink in hand, watching them dance barefoot in the grass. And for the first time in years, I smiled without pretending. No marble. No staged elegance. Just love. That's when I knew I hadn't just dodged a bullet. I'd dismantled the entire firing squad. Vanessa hadn't wanted a marriage. She wanted a highlight reel. A gallery of images she could scroll through when the reality got too bland. And if I had married her, I would have spent every year wondering when the next condition would drop. Because it wouldn't have stopped at marble. It would have become granite countertops. Luxury vacations. A better job title. A prettier home. A life of constant comparison. And eventually, someone newer. Someone flashier. Someone she could post about for likes while forgetting who they really were. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't need revenge. I had something better. I had peace. One of Vanessa's old friends messaged me a few weeks later. Just a short, blunt note. Said she'd moved back in with her parents. The engagement was officially erased from her socials. The brand she modeled for had quietly stopped working with her. The wedding planner had blacklisted her for fraudulently requesting refunds under a fake business name. Apparently, she was planning to bounce back by doing a tell-all video. I didn't watch it. I didn't need to. Because while she's still trying to rewrite the ending, I'm already living in the epilogue. A quiet apartment. A healthy routine. No drama. No marble. Just solid floors, solid friendships. And the kind of life where I don't need a camera crew to know it's real. And if she ever wonders why I walked away, all she has to do is replay her own words in her head. She said she'd only say, I do, if the floor was marble. Well, I needed more than surface. I needed depth. And she never had any. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.